face them. Had my vision all worked out, but then life had other plans.
Hi, it's me, AJ Hard, and I am here to ask a few questions I'm sure a lot of people are asking about the new season of Raven's Home. So let's get to it.
You know we gon' shine, there for each other, you know it's our time. Yep, that's us.
So Raven's Home has been a spin-off of That's So Raven and Cory in the House. Raven's Home used to include two twin siblings, Nia and Booker, and a old friend, Chelsea, with a son, Levi, with their neighbor, Tess. Season 5 has changed all of that because now it's focused on the original cast with a few other cast members as well as they embark in a new adventure in life. The problem is with that is that this causes a few weird questions in the whole entire thing. And maybe there's questions that you're also asking, or maybe there's something else that you're asking too. But here are a few questions that I have that I think you might have too. Hopefully Raven's Home, the season 5, will answer some of those.
No one who messes with my sister should be awed.
So the first question is, where's the family at? As you know, the original Raven's Home first few seasons included their neighbor Tess, Nia, Booker, Levi, and Chelsea. Well, coming to season 5, we've lost most of those characters. We've lost Chelsea, we've lost Levi, we've lost Nia. And all that's kind of left is just Raven and Booker. So what happened to them? Well, if we look back on the last episode of season 4, we'll notice that Levi actually got a trip to London to go to his grandparents with his dad. So of course he would be out. Now, the story behind where Tess went, it sounds like she was real focused on her basketball skills, so chances are she might be at a new school or developing a scholarship for basketball or something. But it's never really noted as what's going on. But if you pay attention through the series of Raven's Home, you'll notice that she's really focused on her basketball career and is trying to get somewhere with that. So chances are she was kind of left behind just due to the fact that she wasn't really into it in the end. Now, the story about Nia is we don't really know where she is, but in this scene, it is announced that she is doing some good for the homeless.
Hey, I heard she spent the summer in Guatemala building houses for the poor.
Now, the only question about that is, it doesn't really seem like it's a now thing. It seems more like something that she did in the past. So, is she helping the homeless now, or was she helping the homeless earlier? The thing with that is that even though she is helping others, where exactly is she? Because in the first episode of the season 5, it doesn't really explain where she is or really what she's doing. Now, the last episode of season 4, we learned that Devon is actually moving back to Chicago from Texas.
Because I'm moving back. You are now looking at the new Chicago Channel 19 Weekend Weatherman.
Wait, we get to have you around now?
Without breaking stuff. Allegedly.
But the thing is, though, what is he moving back to? Apparently his family is not even with him anymore. So what exactly is the point of him moving to Chicago? As for Chelsea, it's very interesting to notice that she, even though she has a business, she's still kind of alone. I mean, her husband and her son are in London, and Raven's in San Francisco helping her dad, so what does that leave for Chelsea? I mean, even though she is part of this brand new business that Raven and her created, is she still capable of living on her own? Interesting question.
Ava?
In the original cast, we had Cory Baxter, Raven Baxter, Mom, Dad, and Raven's friends. But here's the thing though. Chelsea has already been left behind. We already know that. And her family has moved away. Then we have Eddie, who's not going to return in the show anytime soon. And then we have Corey, who's definitely not going to return because apparently his daughter is the replacement of him. We also have to include that Nia is not being involved in this show. But the main question is, where's Raven's mom?
Then that's just too bad. Because this Juliet ain't waiting around for some fool in tights named Romeo. You know what I'm saying? And Romeo might sound like this. Do you believe the words that are coming out of her mouth? Should I speak up and make a fool of myself? Or just let her go on and on about how fine she think I am? Raven, gum.
Now, in the last season of That's So Raven, we learned that Raven's mom has left for London for school. But what does that mean now? Because right after That's So Raven, it was known that the dad and Corey went off to Washington, D.C. to be the cook for the president. Which is very interesting now because what happened to that career? Now, we do hear in the 5th season that Raven is wondering what happened to that career. As she asks him, did he get fired or did he quit?
Dad, seriously, answer me this question. Did you quit the White House or did you get fired?
But sadly, we don't know the answer as he avoids the whole conversation. But I do kind of wonder, where is Corey now? And where is the mom? Where is everybody?
Let's go. Alice, what are you doing here all by yourself?
You know her?
Yeah, Z-Right.
Now another question is, who is this little girl? So, as we find out that she's the cousin related to Raven. But the question is, where exactly did she come from? It's said in the episode that she's come here to live with her grandfather because she's a gifted child, which I'm assuming would mean that she's related to Corey due to the fact of her cunning personality, as she tricks Booker into giving her the chips that he wanted all along. Sounds very Corey-ish. But is she Raven's cousin or is she Booker's cousin? Because if she's Booker's cousin, then that means that she had to be developed from Corey, which remains the question of who exactly did he get with to have this little girl? But if she's Raven's cousin, then we have to wonder how long has she been in the family? I mean, she is a young girl, so it couldn't have been that long, but at no point was she ever announced until now. So, exactly where in the world does Alice come from? Because if she is Raven's cousin, then that means that she must be a relation to Raven's cousin. Which would mean that she has to come from either her dad's side or her mom's side. Which means, if she comes from her mom's side, then that probably means she's a psychic, or related to a psychic. But if it's her dad's side, then she should have a little country in her, as we know that her dad has a country side in him.
That is your cousin Alice. She's Betty Jane's little girl. She moved down here with your grandpa so she can go to a school for geniuses.
You said your parents were dead.
No, I just told you what their favorite chips used to be.
Oh, give me those.
So, as we mentioned before, after That's So Raven came Corey in the house, where Victor became the cook for the president. Whatever happened to that career? And another thing that just kind of comes up is, if the Chill Grill is still going on, who was running that business while Victor was away? And it's very interesting to ask whether he quit or was he fired. It seems more like he had to quit, but the question is, why? Why did he have to quit the job for being the president? Because although it could be that he was fired, it doesn't seem so, because Victor was a very awesome cook and the president at the time loved his food. So was he fired because a new president was involved, or was he fired or did he quit because he just didn't want to do the job anymore? So what exactly happened in the Corey in the house that comes to Raven's home? And we also need to wonder, how long has the Chill Grill been involved? Because if Victor was not in the Chill Grill and Corey in the house, then who was running that business and how did he get the privilege to come back? I mean, even though the business is his, we still gotta ask, where's the chill girl been all these In Raven's Home Season 5, we learn that there's these two new characters. There's Ivy and there's this other character who doesn't seem very bright in the time. Now, we learn that these two characters are the neighbors of the Baxter family, but the question kind of remains, how long have they been neighbors? Because even though they were never involved in That's So Raven, they seem to be very friends with Victor.
I live next door. Pop pays her to help around the house.
Yeah, I wanted to pick up around the kitchen, so he doesn't have to.
It's Neil. Is Alice there?
I can't find her anywhere. She's gone.
Aw, that's too bad. I wanted to tell her that a girl just walked into the hospital who looks exactly like her.
So how close are they? It doesn't really seem like Raven really knows about them, so it had to be sometime over Corey's house when they were known. And if it was around Corey's house, then that means that they wouldn't have known him until he quit or got fired from his job. But anyway, as you watch Season 5, you learn that they have no problem getting into the house. Because when we meet Ivy, she's actually in the kitchen cooking. And even though she's the babysitter of Alice, why in the world is she in the house if Alice is already at the hospital? Now, one thing that does happen is that Alice does sneak off, but it seems to me like Ivy really knows what she's doing, so she wouldn't be really tricked into leaving Alice by herself without knowing that she was there. For Alice to be at the hospital means that Ivy knew. But if Ivy knew that she was at the hospital, why was she in the house?
No!
Okay, so another question. When we left Raven's Home Season 4, we learned that Devon was going to move back to Chicago. The strange thing is, he moved back to Chicago to be with his family. But if Nia's not around because she's helping the community, and Booker's with his mom, and who knows what happened to Chelsea, then what exactly is the point for you to move back to Chicago? Although it's mentioned in the beginning that they're just there to visit, it's still strange that no one notified Devon that they're actually going to stay. And if they're going to stay, then what does that mean for Devon? Does that mean he can go back to Texas and do his original job? Or maybe he's even watching Nia, which if he's watching Nia, then why didn't anyone ever mention that? Very strange.
My kids, my house. Of course I did.
I don't mind fixing things. There's only 3 more years until they're off to college. I don't want to miss another milestone. Which leads me to my next subject. I applied for a new job.
Oh.
In the area.
The area? What area?
So as we learn in later in Raven's Home is that Raven started her own fashion design business with Chelsea as a guidance counselor. Well, anyway, the problem is that with Raven deciding to move to San Francisco, what is she going to do about her business? It took her a while to get this job because at first she was working for a fashion designer for dogs. When she made her new business with Chelsea, she was gaining access to famous celebrities and important people. But if she's in San Francisco, then how is she going to corrupt that business now? Did she put it on hold, or is she still going to be doing that business all the way in San Francisco?
I got one pin at a time. You don't know, all right? We the mamas. That's how it is. We the mamas.
Another question we kind of have to ask is, who is the star in this? In the earlier Raven's Home, we learned that the main character, the main character, is Booker and Nia as they struggle being teenagers and trying to get away with stuff from their mom, who doesn't seem to be as chill as she used to in That's So Raven.
Dad, you look good. But I think I just need to check your fever. So let me see your head break. Oh, what's that?
What?
If you pay attention to Raven's Home, you'll notice that even though Raven is an adult, she seems very self-absorbed.
Booker, you drive too fast. Nia, you drive too slow, and I am too pretty and young to die. I am done.
But Mom, we still need an adult.
And very cautious about what her children are doing. Not in a way where she's constantly worried about them, but in a demanding way. She seems to always demand that they do what she wants them to do, and is very angry with them when they do basically the same thing that Raven did when she was a kid. And even though Raven did do some crazy things and got caught by her parents weren't as strict and demanding as she is. But the question is, who is the star? Because when we watch season 5, we notice that Raven is more focused on than Booker. Because what we see is Raven's back to her old ways as she's having visions and running in disguise as a doctor. Which is the same thing that happened in That's So Raven. So, who are we focused on in this series? Are we refocusing on Raven as she goes back into her old original ways? Or are we focused on Booker, who's developing new skills as he's learning the way of San Francisco, of his own hometown? Very interesting. Now, if we're focusing on both, then that's great. But that means that we're going to have two stories in the price of one. Kind of like how we have in the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder on Disney+.
Hey, Ray. Why doesn't your leg just audition for the school play? Because then it'll be in a cast. Yeah! A cast? Like a cast? Isn't that funny?
Our next question is, what characters are going to come back? As you know, That's So Raven included so many characters, but it seems to me like the only characters that are going to make a return are Victor and Raven. Well, there's also Alana, but the question about Alana is, how far are we going to go back with Alana? Because as we remember, Alana was part of a group with Loka and Muffy. So if she's the principal of the school, then what exactly does that mean for Muffy and Loka? As we remember, Loka had a big crush on Eddie, but Eddie's not involved anymore. So, are they planning to mention how Loka and Eddie got together? And as for Muffy, she was a sidekick. So, shouldn't she be the vice president of the school? And if not, then what happened to Muffy? Right now, all we know is that we have only a few characters returning. And that would be Raven and Victor, because nobody else seems to be coming back. So, what characters are we going to reflect from That's So Raven to Raven's Home? If you have any questions for Raven's Home, go ahead and comment below, because hopefully Raven's Home will explain those answers. And if not, we can maybe talk about them together. But anyway, this is AJ Hard saying, chill out.